U.S. inmates could soon be trading their organs for freedom. A proposed bill in New England could see vulnerable convicts making decisions out of desperation. State legislators around the United States are keenly watching the fate of a Massachusetts bill allowing prisoners to receive up to 1 year off their jail sentence by donating their organs. According to reports, Bill HD 3822, called the Act to Establish the Massachusetts Incarcerated Individual Bone Marrow and Organ Donation Program, end quote, would allow participating prisoners to receive a minimum of 60 days and up to a whole year off their sentence. It would be good to set up in a special parole. It would be set up in a special parole hearing based similarly on commuted sentences for quote-unquote good behavior. However, it would also encourage repeat donations, and since those incarcerated in the U.S. are disproportionately minorities and low-income earners, it bears similarities to the country's blood and plasma donation scheme. That system preys on low-income earners and students, encouraging them to consistently donate their blood at for-profit collection centers, effectively selling it in a sort of vampiric version of capitalism, which it is. It is a vampiric version of capitalism. Capitalism is a vampiric version of capitalism. In a 2019 piece titled Harvesting the Blood of America's Poor, the Latest Stage of Capitalism, Alan MacLeod observed that around 130 million Americans admit an inability to pay for basic needs like food, housing, or health care. Buying and selling blood is one of the few booming industries America has left. The number of collection centers in the United States has more than doubled since 2005, and blood now makes up well over 2% of total exports by value. Wowee. To put that in perspective, Americans' blood is now worth more than all exported corn or soy products that cover vast areas of the country's heartland, he said. According to MacLeod, the U.S. supplies fully 70% of the world's plasma, mainly because most other countries have banned the practice on ethical and medical grounds. Exports increased by over 13% to $28.6 billion between 2016 and 2017, and the plasma market is projected to grow radiantly. According to one industry report, the majority goes to wealthy European countries. Did you hear that, ladies and gentlemen? The majority goes to wealthy European countries. Poor, impoverished Americans here give their blood to the wealthy in Europe. I mean, it's better than giving their blood to the wealthy here in America, but it's still an issue. A moral and ethical issue. Germany, for example, buys 15% of all U.S. blood exports. China and Japan are also key customers. But low-incomers giving blood for money is a very different scenario from prisoners literally giving their organs for freedom. That's true. The most important difference is that the proposed organ donations by prisoners would be the result of a criminal penalty. The U.S. Constitution prohibits cruel and unusual punishment of convicts, and one could argue this makes the bill unconstitutional. By the way it is framed, means the organ for freedom contract is not technically a punishment, but simply a voluntary system that can reduce a convict's actual punishment. Neither is it necessarily cruel, since a person can live a normal everyday life without a kidney, nor unusual, because healthy people donate organs all the time. The United States has slavery as a form of punishment codified in its Constitution, via the 13th Amendment. It is also a country where the death penalty is legal. That's true. First, let's rewind back. The United States has slavery as a form of punishment codified in its Constitution via the 13th Amendment. Prison. So when people say the United States got rid of slavery, bullshit, it's still practiced to this day. Before you thumb your nose at raise your nose at other countries, your country, the United States, is still practicing slavery to this day. It is also a country where the death penalty is legal at the federal level, but mainly implemented by states in capital offenses such as murder. U.S. prisons also routinely implement long-term solitary confinement. That's true, recognized by the U.S. as a form of recognized by the UN, the United Nations, as a form of torture. The threshold to prove cruel and unusual punishment is thus exceptionally high. That's true. What they're arguing here in this article is that donating organs for freedom is not going to be in the United States constituted as cruel and unusual punishment for all of these reasons. One, we have slavery. Two, there's death penalty. Three, solitary confinement is practiced here in the UN, which is considered torture by the UN. And so these three reasons and more, donating organs for freedom is not likely to be considered cruel and unusual punishment by the courts. One of the primary arguments put forward by proponents of the bill is that prisoners have no way as of now to donate organs even if they choose to. That is a pretty sound case. After all, shouldn't they be able to exercise that right if everyone else has it? And what's the argument against them losing this right, especially if it helps everyone, including Massachusetts' jammed up donor waiting list? Unfortunately, the easily foreseen problem is that it incentivizes people to literally give up organs, parts of their bodies, for their freedom. This is inherently immoral. Absolutely right, and I agree. The people locked up in U.S. prisons are disproportionately from minority groups, subject to unlawful conditions, with little access to economic aid or rehabilitation. That's absolutely true. This is one of the main reasons why the U.S. has the highest recidivism rate in the world. With 76% of prisoners released being rearrested within 5 years, and an astounding 44% returning to prison within only 1 year. The entire system is set up for failure and for people to return to prison, thus pushing them to donate their organs, but without any financial compensation, only a reduced sentence. That's the real scary part here. The real scary part is there might be an incentive to arrest people, put them in jail and prison so that they're forced out of desperation to donate their organs. That's the real scary part here. In like a police state kind of country, which we already have here. This is another step in America's descent into, as MacLeod described, a horror story of late-stage capitalism that one might dub vampiric, and where the wealthy feed on the blood of the poor. Really good article. This is from Russia Today, I think. It's called U.S. Inmates Could Soon Be Trading Their Organs for Freedom. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Very interesting article. Subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about this interesting story here. Leave a like if you're listening to this on the podcast. Then tweet me. Let me know what you think about this story there. Take care.